The planet Varel was known for its peaceful fields, crystal rivers, and tall silver trees that swayed in the wind. Its people, the Orin, had lived for centuries without large wars. Their cities were built with soft light and gentle curves, and their main concern each day was farming, art, and trade. For them, war was something distant, something they read about in history records but never expected to see again. That peace ended when the warlord Grax arrived. His fleet came without warning, dark shapes in the night sky. His ships moved in formation like metal beasts. The first bombardment came at dawn, shaking the ground and sending the Orin running for shelter. Grax's soldiers were strong and disciplined. They landed in the main trade hubs, cutting off roads and communications. Within days, they had taken control of several regions. The Orin Defense Force was small and mostly ceremonial. They had ships, but these were built for patrols and trade. Protection, not full war. Their weapons could not match the heavy cannons of Grax's fleet. In the capital city, the Orin Council gathered inside the Hall of Stars. The room was tense. The walls, usually bright with light panels, seemed dim under the weight of fear. Elder Vareen, leader of the council, stood in the center. His voice was calm, but his eyes showed the strain of the past week. "We cannot hold for much longer," Vareen said. "We have lost the southern ports, and our shield grids are failing. We must call for help." A young council member named Ra'al stepped forward. "The nearest Orin fleet is months away. Grax will have taken the planet before they can arrive." "Then, we send the signal to our allies," Vareen replied. "Any who can hear us." Some hesitated. The Orin rarely called outsiders for help. They valued their independence, and there were whispers about other species who might use their weakness for their own gain. But they had no other choice. Technicians began to work on the long-range transmitter. The great dish on the city's highest tower turned toward the stars. A pulse of coded light and sound was sent into deep space. The message was clear and desperate. "This is Virel of the Orin people. We are under attack by forces of warlord Grax. Our defenses are failing. We request immediate assistance from any allied or friendly power. Please respond." The signal, repeated again and again, vanishing into the void. Days passed. The Orin fought in small battles, losing more ground each time. Smoke rose from the farming valleys, and refugee lines stretched for kilometers. Still, the council kept hope that someone would answer. One night, as Vareen stood on the balcony of the Hall of Stars, watching the horizon glow with distant fires, a messenger ran to him. "Elder, we have received a response. Reinforcements are coming." Vareen's heart lifted. "From where?" The messenger checked the data tablet in his hands. "From Earth." The word made some of the council members exchange uneasy looks. The Orin knew of Earth, but only through second-hand reports. It was classified as a death world, a place where life had evolved under extreme danger. The creatures there were fierce, the environment unpredictable, and the dominant species, humans, were said to be one of the most adaptable and stubborn beings in the known galaxy. The rumors painted them as reckless and aggressive, a people who thrived in chaos. No Orin had worked closely with humans before. Some doubted the wisdom of trusting them. "Will they bring a fleet?" Raal asked. The messenger shook his head. "Only one warship is close enough to arrive in time. They have already changed course. To come here. One ship?" Raal frowned. "Against Grax's armada?" Vareen thought for a long moment. "Even one ship is better than no ship. And perhaps the stories about humans are more than just stories." The days until the humans' arrival felt endless. The Orin continued to lose territory. Grax sent messages to the council, offering them a chance to surrender in exchange for becoming part of his empire. Each time, Vareen refused. He knew surrender would mean the loss of everything the Orin valued. Finally, the day came. The early morning sky lit with a sharp flash as the human warship dropped out of hyperspace above Varel. The ship was not large, compared to the vast battleships of Grax's fleet, but its design was different. Compact, sharp-edged, built for speed and precision. Its hull was a dark gray, marked with a white emblem of Earth. The Orin gathered in the capital's central plaza to watch the live feed from orbital sensors. The human ship moved into a high orbit, scanning the surface and the surrounding space. A message came through on the Council's comms system. "This is Captain Mira of the ESS Falcon. We have received your distress call and are here to assist. Please transmit all enemy positions and tactical data. We will hold the line." The voice was calm, steady, and without fear. Vareen responded, sending the coordinates and reports. "Captain Mira, we are grateful, but your force is small. Grax has dozens of ships." There was a short pause before Mira replied. "We have faced worse." The Orin Council exchanged uneasy glances. Could one ship, no matter how advanced, truly stop Grax's army? And yet, there was something in the human captain's tone that carried weight, as if she already saw the path to victory. Above them, the ESS Falcon adjusted its position. Weapons ports began to glow with readiness. Somewhere out in space, Grax's scouts would be reporting the human arrival. The warlord would likely see it as a small annoyance, something to crush quickly. But Vareen, standing in the Hall of Stars, felt a strange sense that the tide might soon shift. He did not know why, but for the first time since the war began, hope stirred in his heart. The ESS Falcon stayed in high orbit for several hours after arrival, scanning every corner of the battlefield. Its sensors mapped enemy positions, ship routes, and even troop concentrations on the surface. Inside the Orin capital, large screens showed the human ship gliding in the dark sky above Virel, its movements slow and deliberate, like a predator watching its prey. The Orin Council gathered once more in the Hall of Stars to speak with the human captain. The tall main screen flickered, revealing Captain Mira. She wore a dark uniform with a simple Earth emblem on the chest. Her expression was calm but sharp, her eyes studying each council member in turn. "Elder Vareen," she said, "we have your tactical data. My crew is already preparing to engage Grax's forces. I understand you have doubts about our numbers." Vareen inclined his head. "We are thankful for your arrival, Captain, but you must know that Grax has many ships. They have taken much of our land. One vessel, even with skilled fighters, may not be enough." Mira gave a slight nod. "Numbers are not the only measure in war. We are here because we believe we can win, not because it will be easy. You will need to trust us." Some of the council members shifted in their seats. Raal spoke up. "Are all humans so confident in the face of overwhelming odds?" Mira's lips curved into the faintest smile. "Confident? No. Prepared? Always." Her image vanished as the transmission ended. Moments later, the Falcon changed its orbit and moved toward the far side of the planet, out of sight of the capital's observers. The Orin military liaison explained that the human crew was likely placing themselves between Virel and the main enemy fleet, cutting off the next wave before it could strike. In the skies above the southern continent, Grax's scouts picked up the Falcon's approach. The enemy commander aboard a massive dreadnought laughed when the report came in. "One ship from Earth? They send us a toy to fight a storm." His officers agreed. They had heard of humans, but most thought the stories were exaggerated. To them, Deathworlders were just another strange rumor in the galaxy. That opinion would soon change. The Falcon did not charge straight into the enemy formation. Instead, it darted in from an unexpected angle, its engines flaring bright as it twisted through debris fields and narrow asteroid paths. Orin observers, watching through, Their long-range feeds saw the human ship weaving like a bird through the chaos. Enemy targeting systems struggled to keep a lock on it. When the Falcon finally opened fire, its weapons were not the wide, slow volleys the Orin were used to. Each shot was precise, aimed to cripple engines or disable weapons instead of destroying entire ships. Within minutes, 2 of Grax's escort vessels were dead in space, drifting helplessly. The rest of the enemy formation scattered to avoid the same fate. On the surface, Orin citizens gathered in public squares to watch the feeds. Cheers broke out as they saw the humans turning back ships that had seemed unstoppable for weeks. But Mira was not just fighting to win a single battle. The Falcon's crew was forcing Grax to change his tactics. Every time he tried to regroup, the humans struck again from a new position, always one step ahead. It was like trying to catch smoke with bare hands. After several hours of running battles in orbit, the Falcon slipped back into high altitude over the capital. Vareen spoke to Mira once more. "Captain, you have given us a great gift today. The people have hope again. How did you know where to strike each time?" Mira's voice was steady. "We study the enemy until we understand them. Every commander has habits, patterns. Once we find them, we break them. And once we break them, they lose control." The Orin Council began to understand that the human way of war was not about matching force with force. It was about adaptation and patience. While the Falcon repaired minor damage and reloaded its weapons, Mira sent a small landing team to the surface. The Orin expected a formal ceremony, but the humans were direct. The team's leader, Lieutenant Bryn, met with Orin officers in a military outpost near the Western Hills. He asked to see maps of the terrain, enemy supply lines, and civilian shelters. Bryn pointed at the maps with a gloved hand. "Here, here, and here. These are weak points, in Grax's control. If we can cut these lines, his ground forces will have to pull back." The Orin officers hesitated. "Those areas are difficult to reach. The terrain is harsh, storms are common, and enemy patrols are heavy." Bryn's answer was simple. "We are used to harsh." Over the next day, small human shuttles dropped, supplies and equipment to hidden locations across the planet. The Orin began to see the humans' full plan forming. It was not about holding the capital alone. It was about breaking the enemy piece by piece until Grax's strength collapsed from within. Grax himself, aboard his flagship, grew irritated. Reports came in of missing patrols, damaged ships, and unexpected losses. His officers could not explain how such a small force was causing so much trouble. "They fight like ghosts," one captain said. "We strike, they vanish. We chase, they hit us from another direction." By the end of the second day after their arrival, the humans had not only stopped the next enemy wave, but also reclaimed several orbital positions. The Falcon's presence in the sky became a symbol to the Orin that help had truly come. In the Hall of Stars, Vareen stood before the council and the gathered citizens. His voice carried strength again. "The Deathworlders have arrived, and with them, a chance for victory. We will fight beside them, and we will not yield our world to Grax." Above them, the human ship moved in the quiet dark, preparing for the next stage of the war. The sun was just rising over Varel when the alarms began to sound. Grax's main fleet was on the move. Massive warships emerged from the far side of the planet's moon, their black hulls shining in the light. From the capital's defense towers, the Orin could see the enemy fleet forming into a tight spearhead. In the Hall of Stars, Elder Vareen stood before the large tactical display. The markers showing Grax's ships moved closer every minute. The Orin commanders spoke in tense voices, unsure how long they could hold. In the middle of the room, Captain Mira appeared again on the main screen, her face calm despite the approaching storm. "We have the fleet's formation," Mira said. "They will expect us to meet them directly. We will not do that." Some Orin officers looked confused. If we do not meet them head-on, they will push through to the capital, one argued. Mira shook her head. If we meet them head-on, we will be crushed. We will fight them where they are weakest, not strongest. The ESS Falcon moved swiftly into a lower orbit, placing itself just out of the enemy's direct path. From there, it released several smaller craft, fast attack shuttles that spread out like birds scattering before a storm. Each shuttle carried heavy electronic warfare equipment and precision weapons. When Grax's fleet advanced, the humans did not rush to attack. Instead, their shuttles darted in and out at the edges of the formation, targeting the enemy's sensor arrays and communication relays. Small bursts of energy struck key systems, leaving several of Grax's ships partially blind and unable to receive orders. Inside the enemy flagship, Grax's bridge crew shouted over one another. "We have lost contact with the 3rd Division," one officer reported. Another shouted, "Rear flank sensors are down. We cannot track the small craft." The Falcon used these moments of confusion to strike. Its main cannons fired sudden, precise shots that ripped through the engines of 2 heavy cruisers. Without propulsion, those ships drifted out of formation, forcing the rest of the fleet to slow. From the ground, Orin observers could hardly believe what they were seeing. The human ships seemed to be everywhere at once, striking one target, vanishing into debris fields, then reappearing to hit another from behind. The battle was not a contest of brute strength, but a game of skill and timing. Grax, furious, ordered his fastest ships to chase the Falcon. The humans allowed them to get close before suddenly changing course, pulling the enemy ships into the path of hidden minefields. Several exploded instantly, sending shock waves through the area. The Orin military liaison explained what was happening to the council. The humans placed these mines yesterday during their patrols. They knew the enemy would try to flank them. As the hours passed, the Falcon and its shuttles continued to dismantle the enemy formation. Without central coordination, Grax's fleet began to break apart into smaller, uncoordinated groups. Mira's voice came over the Orin military channel. "Now is the time. If your defense ships can engage the scattered enemy, we will support you." Though hesitant, the Orin captains launched their smaller patrol craft into the fray. With the Falcon drawing the heaviest fire, the Orin ships were able to pick off stragglers and damaged vessels. It was the first time in weeks they had been able to fight on equal terms. On the bridge of the Falcon, Mira studied the tactical map. "We will end this first engagement here," she told her crew. "Do not chase them beyond the 2nd moon. Keep them running, but let them retreat." The Orin officers were puzzled by this choice, but Mira knew the reason. By letting Grax's forces escape in disarray, she planted the seed of fear. They would now see the humans not as a small force to be crushed, but as an unpredictable threat that could appear anywhere. By late afternoon, the battle was over. The enemy had retreated beyond Varel's moons, leaving behind the wreckage of 8 ships. The Orin had lost only 2 patrol craft. It was a victory far beyond what anyone had expected. In the capital, people filled the streets, cheering the sight of the Falcon in the sky. Children waved small banners, and old farmers spoke, in wonder about the human skill. For the first time since the invasion began, laughter returned to the city. That evening, in a quiet meeting room, Vareen spoke privately with Mira through the comlink. "Captain, your tactics saved us today. How did you know they would work?" Mira leaned back in her chair. "Humans are hunters. On our home world, survival means knowing when to fight, when to wait, and how to make the enemy move where you want them. Grax's fleet was strong, but they thought strength was enough. We proved it is not." Vareen nodded slowly. "I begin. To understand why the galaxy calls you Deathworlders." Mira's voice was steady. "It is not about loving war. It is about surviving whatever the world or the stars throw at you, and making sure your people survive too. Outside, the Falcon's crew worked through the night, repairing damage and preparing for the next encounter. Grax's retreat would not last long. His pride would force him to strike again, and the humans would be ready. For now, though, the Orin had won their first true victory, and hope burned brighter in their hearts. The morning after the first space victory, the Orin people awoke to the sound of distant thunder. At first, they thought it was a storm rolling over the Silver Hills, but soon the truth became clear. Grax had begun his next move, not in orbit, but on the surface. Columns of enemy troops advanced across the southern plains, supported by heavy walkers and attack craft. Their goal was the farming region that fed much of the capital. If they could take it, the Orin defenders would lose vital supplies, and morale would crumble. In the Hall of Stars, Elder Vereen studied the tactical maps with the Orin officers. Red markers showed the enemy pushing forward in 3 wide lines. They, "Move fast!" one commander said. "We cannot hold the plains with our current forces." A signal came from the Falcon. Captain Mira appeared on the screen, standing on her ship's bridge. "We will deploy a ground team to meet them," she said. "Your troops should hold the northern ridge. My people will take the southern route and cut them off before they reach the main valley." Some Orin looked doubtful. "The plains are open ground. There is no cover. You cannot hide there." Mira's reply was firm. "We will not need to hide." Within the hour, a small formation of human dropships descended through the clouds. They landed near the edge of the plains, kicking up dust as their ramps lowered. Human soldiers marched out in light armor, carrying weapons the Orin had never seen before. Their movements were quick and precise, each soldier watching the horizon as if expecting danger from every direction. The Orin commander assigned to accompany them, a veteran named Sarlin, was surprised at their gear. "Your armor is not heavy. Are you not worried about the enemy's fire?" Lieutenant Bryn, leading the human team, shook his head. "If we move fast enough and think faster than they do, we will not give them a chance to aim." The humans began their advance, not in a single straight line, but in scattered groups. They moved from one slight rise in the land to another, using the smallest dips in the ground as cover. Their eyes were sharp, scanning for movement. The Orin soldiers, unused to fighting in such an open field, followed closely, learning as they went. When Grax's first walkers appeared in the distance, the humans did not open fire immediately. Instead, Bryn gave quick orders, and his soldiers spread out even more. From hidden packs, they took out small devices and placed them in the grass. Sarlin watched curiously. "What are those?" "Guides for our weapons," Bryn answered. Minutes later, the enemy reached the first line of devices. Bryn raised his hand, and the humans fired. Small projectiles flew from their weapons and struck the devices, triggering a chain of explosions beneath the walkers' legs. 2 machines collapsed instantly, their mechanical limbs twisted. The enemy soldiers rushed forward, trying to close the distance, but the humans did not stay in place. They shifted positions constantly, firing from one spot, then vanishing to another before the enemy could respond. Sarlin noticed something else. Each time the humans moved, they coordinated perfectly without long discussions. A simple hand signal or a single word over the comms was enough. It was as if they had fought together for years, reading each other's intentions without pause. The battle grew intense as the enemy brought in more troops. Heavy fire rained across the plains, but the humans used every feature of the land. Small ridges, lone boulders, even burned-out enemy machines as shields. At one point, an Orin squad found themselves pinned by fire from a distant ridge. Before Sarlin could give an order, 2 humans sprinted forward, sliding into cover and launching smoke grenades. The thick cloud hid the Orin long enough for them to escape and regroup. By midday, the human tactics began to take their toll. Enemy forces slowed, their formations breaking apart. The humans pressed the advantage, striking weak points and pulling back before the enemy could counter. Grax's field commander grew frustrated. He had expected to crush the humans quickly, but they refused to fight in predictable ways. his armored. Units could not catch them, and his infantry was losing ground. Finally, Bryn signaled for the last phase. From over the horizon, 2 Falcon dropships roared in low, releasing aerial drones that swept over the battlefield. The drones struck enemy supply transports and communications vehicles, cutting off the attackers from their support. The sight of their supplies burning broke the enemy's will. They began to retreat toward the southern edge of the plains. The humans did not chase them far. Bryn signaled a halt and began checking on every squad, human and Orin alike. Sarlin stood beside, him still catching his breath. "I have never seen a battle fought like this. You did not stand and trade fire. You made them chase you, and when they did, you struck at the right moment." Bryn gave a small smile. "On Earth, we learned long ago that the one who controls the pace controls the fight. Make the enemy react to you, and you have already won half the battle." By evening, the plains were quiet again. The Orin farmers returned to their fields, and repair crews began clearing the wreckage. Word of the victory spread quickly through the capital. People spoke with amazement about the humans, how few they were, yet how they moved like the wind, and fought like they had lived on the battlefield all their lives. Back aboard the Falcon, Mira received Bryn's report. She nodded, satisfied. "Grax will not forget this lesson. He will push harder next time. We must be ready to answer him." Again, on Varel, the Orin soldiers who had fought alongside the humans now looked at them with a new kind of respect. These were not just allies from a distant world. They were warriors shaped by a home so dangerous that every living day had been a battle to survive. The reputation of the Deathworlders was no longer a rumor. It was now a fact witnessed with their own eyes. The victory on the plains had lifted the spirits of Varel. For the first time since the invasion began, the Orin walked the streets without the weight of constant fear. Farmers returned to their fields, and traders reopened market stalls in the safer districts. Still, everyone knew the war was far from over. Grax's forces remained strong, and his pride would not allow him to accept defeat quietly. Captain Mira understood this. She knew that the Falcon's crew could not fight every battle alone. The Orin would need to learn how to fight like humans if they were to survive the war. One morning, the council received a proposal from Mira. She asked for volunteers from the Orin Defense Forces to join a special training program led by her soldiers. Elder Varine approved at once, though some commanders hesitated. The Orin way of battle was slow, disciplined, and predictable. The human style was faster, riskier, and seemed almost chaotic to those who had never seen it up close. The training began on the outskirts of the capital, in an abandoned industrial district that had once been a center of trade. Now it served as a mock battlefield. The Orin recruits arrived in neat lines, wearing standard armor and carrying the rifles they had always used. The humans, by contrast, stood in loose groups, relaxed but alert, their eyes scanning the area as if expecting an attack at any moment. Lieutenant, Bryn stepped forward to address the mixed group. "If you want to fight the way we do, you must first forget some of what you already know. You will not wait for orders in every moment. You will learn to act when the opportunity is in front of you. You will move fast, and you will think faster." The Orin recruits exchanged uncertain glances, but they listened closely as the humans began the first exercises. Instead of long marches in straight lines, the training focused on quick bursts of movement, diving into cover, and changing positions. Often, the humans showed them how to use even the smallest obstacle, a half-broken wall, a shallow ditch, a single boulder, to shield themselves from fire. In one exercise, Bryn had the Orin advance toward a mock enemy position. Halfway there, the humans signaled them to scatter and change direction. The recruits were confused at first, but when the humans explained that an enemy would expect them to continue in a straight line, the idea began to make sense. They practiced, shooting on the move, targeting weak points instead of firing wildly. They learned to work in small, flexible squads rather than as one large, slow-moving group. At first, the Orin found it difficult. They were used to obeying one central command, not thinking for themselves in the middle of battle. But slowly, they began to adapt. Days turned into weeks, and the results were clear. The Orin moved with more confidence, their reactions quicker, their aim sharper. The humans pushed them harder each day, often running drills in harsh conditions, under heavy rain, in thick dust, even at night. Bryn explained that the enemy would not always attack under perfect conditions, so a soldier must be ready for anything. Meanwhile, Grax continued his attacks on other regions of the planet. He avoided direct fights with the Falcon, instead focusing on smaller towns and supply lines. But now, when his troops moved in, they faced Orin forces trained in human tactics. In one northern valley, a small Orin unit used hidden positions and rapid movement to ambush a much larger enemy force. They cut off the attackers' supply convoy and forced them to retreat without the Falcon's help. Word of this victory spread quickly, inspiring more recruits to join the training. Inside the Falcon's strategy room, Mira studied the growing list of Orin's successes. "It is working," she told Vareen during one of their meetings. "Every victory your people win on their own is a loss of control for Grax. He wants you to depend on fear. We are taking that away from him." Vareen gave a small smile. "I have seen our young soldiers return from the field with a new light in their eyes. They do not look for rescue anymore. They look for the next fight." The turning point came when Grax launched a coordinated strike on 3 different fronts at once, hoping to overwhelm the defenders. In the past, such an attack would have forced the Orin to split their forces and weaken every position. This time, it was different. At the eastern front, Orin units set traps along the enemy's route, delaying them for hours until reinforcements arrived. In the south, mixed human-Orin squads used speed and deception to lure enemy armor into a canyon where it could not maneuver. In the north, a small Orin force held their ground for 2 full days without any direct support, using the same tactics they had learned during training. Grax's plan failed. His forces suffered heavy losses and gained nothing in return. In the Hall of Stars, the council gathered to hear the battle reports. The room was filled with an energy they had not felt since before the war began. Vareen turned to Mira's image on the main screen. "You have given us more than weapons, Captain. You have given us back our strength." Mira's answer was calm but firm. "We have fought beside you, but you have done the work yourselves. Grax will now see that this world is not his to take." Above the planet, the Falcon prepared for the next engagement. Mira knew Grax would not stop. His pride had been wounded, and wounded pride could be dangerous. But she also knew that the balance had shifted. The Orin were no longer standing behind the humans. They were standing beside them. And in a war like this, that made all the difference. The sky over Varel darkened with the shadow of Grax's fleet. His pride had been wounded, and he would not allow defeat to stand. Every ship he owned now moved toward the capital in a single, massive strike. The ground shook as his walkers advanced, and the people of Varel felt fear rise again. Inside the Hall of Stars, Elder Vareen stood among the council and the city's defenders. His hands rested on the large tactical table, tracing the paths of Grax's advancing ships. "This is his final attempt," he said. "If we fail, the capital falls." Captain Mira appeared on the screen above the table. Her calm presence filled the room, and the Orin soldiers drew strength from it. "We have prepared for this moment," she said. "The enemy believes they can overwhelm us with numbers. We will show them that numbers alone do not win battles." The Falcon moved into position in low orbit, its hull glowing faintly from energy shields. Smaller attack craft streamed from its hangars, taking positions around the capital's outer atmosphere. On the ground, human squads and trained Oran units waited in prepared positions, ready to strike at the right moment. Grax's fleet fired first. Massive beams of energy cut through the sky, aimed at the Falcon and the orbital defenses. Explosions erupted across the city's protective shields, shaking buildings and sending citizens running for cover. Grax believed the humans would be destroyed in the first salvo, just like the rest of the galaxy might expect. Mira did not panic. She gave quick orders, and the Falcon twisted sharply, dodging the heaviest beams. The small human shuttles darted into the enemy formation, hitting weak points in the dreadnought's armor. Explosions rocked the enemy ships, and panic began to spread among Grax's captains. Meanwhile, on the ground, Bryn led Oran squads through narrow streets and open plazas. They had prepared traps in advance, hidden under rubble and behind buildings. When Grax's walkers entered the city, they triggered these devices. Explosions and collapsing structures slowed the attackers, forcing them into choke points. The human and Oran forces worked together seamlessly. Humans signaled with quick gestures and words, and the Oran moved in perfect response. Each enemy soldier who tried to advance found themselves surrounded, cut off, or forced to retreat. Grax grew furious on his flagship. He had expected the humans to be a distraction, to be crushed quickly. Instead, they controlled the flow of battle. Every time he sent reinforcements, they were intercepted. Every stronghold he tried to capture was defended with precision. "Enough!" Grax roared. "Destroy the Falcon! Take the city by any means necessary!" The humans anticipated his desperation. Mira had already set the trap, hidden in orbit. And in the city itself were specialized devices that could disable large sections of the enemy fleet. Her strategy was simple but risky. Let Grax overcommit his forces, then strike all at once. When Grax's main dreadnought entered the central plaza's projected attack zone, the Falcon's orbital cannons fired. Energy beams struck the dreadnought's engines, crippling its movement. At the same time, hidden ground devices detonated, sending shockwaves through Grax's armored units. Confused and trapped, his forces had nowhere to retreat. On the ground, Oran units pressed forward, attacking with precision. The human soldiers moved alongside them, coordinating every strike. Grax's troops tried to regroup, but every path forward led to another trap. Explosions, smoke, and laser fire forced them to scatter. The dreadnought itself was surrounded. Bryn ordered a final strike from the humans' heavy weapons. A beam of concentrated energy tore through its armor, collapsing the massive machine in a cloud of fire and debris. With it, the morale of Grax's soldiers broke. The Falcon circled above the battlefield. Mira watched as enemy ships attempted a retreat. The humans allowed a small number to escape, knowing they would spread the tale of defeat and chaos. Those who survived would carry fear of the Deathworlders to the far reaches of the galaxy. Grax himself fled aboard a smaller cruiser, but he was wounded in pride and resources. His army was broken, his command structure scattered. The Oran city stood intact, and their people had survived the final onslaught. In the Hall of Stars, Vareen and the Council stood silently for a moment, absorbing the victory. Then the doors opened, and civilians began filing in, cheering and thanking the defenders. It was a moment of relief, but also a moment of pride. The Oran had learned, fought, and survived alongside the humans. Mira addressed the Council one last time. "This battle is won, but the war in the galaxy continues. You have shown courage and skill. You have learned quickly, and you fought well. Grax will not easily forget today, nor will others who wish to conquer your world." Vareen nodded, his voice strong. "We will never forget the lessons of today, and we will stand ready, side by side with those who defend the helpless." On the surface, Oran soldiers cleaned their weapons and treated the wounded. Families reunited, and children ran freely through the streets. The city had survived, not because of magic or luck, but because of courage, strategy, and unity between two very different peoples. Above them, the Falcon prepared to leave orbit, its mission complete. Mira's crew had taught the Orin not just how to fight, but how to survive and adapt. The legend of the Deathworlders had grown stronger in Varel that day, and the galaxy would take notice. Elder Vereen looked out over the city from the Hall of Stars. For the first time in many months, he allowed himself a smile. The people of Earth fight for life, not conquest, and they have reminded us what it means to survive. The warlord Grax was defeated, but the Orin now knew they were not alone. With the humans' guidance and courage, they had reclaimed their world. The sun rose over Varel, casting golden light over the repaired city. The streets were alive with movement, but this time the energy was different. There was laughter, chatter, and a sense of hope that had been missing for months. The people of the capital were no longer prisoners of fear. Inside the Hall of Stars, Elder Vereen convened the council. Reports from the battlefields were pouring in, showing that Grax's remaining forces had either retreated to distant space or surrendered to Orin units. The planet was secure, but the work of rebuilding and preparation had only just begun. Captain Mira appeared on the main screen. She looked at the gathered council and soldiers. The enemy has fled, and Varel is safe. But remember, the galaxy is vast, and threats will return. Today, you have shown that courage and strategy together are stronger than numbers alone. Vereen stepped forward. Captain Mira, your people have given us more than victory. You have given us strength, knowledge, and the courage to fight for our home. On behalf of all the Orin, we thank you. Mira's eyes softened. Your people fought bravely. Humans only guided and taught. You did the work yourselves. That is why the world stands today. You have proven yourselves worthy allies, and I hope our cooperation continues. Outside, the streets were alive with celebrations. Citizens cheered as Orin soldiers marched back from the battlefields, accompanied by human squads. Children waved banners painted with bright colors, some even attempting to copy the emblem of Earth they had seen on the Falcon. Traders began. Opening shops again, farmers returned to their fields, and the once scarred plains were slowly cleared of debris. In the northern valley, Sarlin watched his soldiers return from their first independent missions. They moved with confidence, no longer afraid of the enemy or their own limitations. He turned to Lieutenant Bryn, who had been training the Orin for weeks. They fight differently now. They see the battlefield as something they can control, not something that controls them. Bryn nodded. That is the difference. When you teach people to think, adapt, and act, they become more than soldiers. They become survivors. That is why humans are called Deathworlders. We survive where others fail, and we help our allies do the same. Back in orbit, the ESS Falcon prepared to depart. Its crew had completed their mission and ensured that the Orin were capable of defending their world. Captain Mira stood on the bridge, looking down at the planet. She felt satisfaction, but also awareness. The galaxy held many threats, and the alliance with Varel was only the beginning. In the capital, the council held a ceremony to honor both the humans and the Orin soldiers who had distinguished themselves. Elder Vereen addressed the crowd. Today, we celebrate not only victory, but also unity. We have learned that strength comes from courage, intelligence, and cooperation. We will not forget the lessons our allies have taught us. Bryn and his team stood quietly, observing the ceremony. The humans did not seek recognition or glory. They were satisfied with the knowledge that the Orin had learned to stand on their own. Children approached them, asking questions about their homeworld, their weapons, and their battles. Bryn smiled, answering as best he could without revealing secrets. The Orin people, inspired by the humans, began creating training programs of their own. Soldiers who had fought alongside the humans now taught others, spreading knowledge and tactics that would make Varel stronger than ever before. The city's defenses were upgraded, new patrol routes were established, and the people took a more active role in protecting their home. Elder Vareen visited the Falcon before it departed. He looked at Captain Mira with gratitude. "Your presence changed our world. The Orin will always remember this day, and we hope that Earth's people will always consider Varel as an ally." Mira inclined her head. "We will remember, Elder Vareen. Humans do not seek to conquer. We only fight to survive, and to help those who stand for life. You have proven yourselves capable, and I am proud to have stood with you." As the Falcon lifted off, the people of Varel gathered in the plazas, waving and cheering. The humans would leave, but their legacy remained. Not only had the Orin defended their world, but they had also learned that fear could be overcome with strategy, courage, and unity. Days later, Grax's few remaining forces were scattered across distant sectors. The news of his defeat spread rapidly. Other civilizations whispered about the humans of Earth, the Deathworlders who had turned the tide of battle with a single warship and trained allies. Varel became a symbol of hope, showing that even small worlds could resist conquest with the right leadership and guidance. In the Hall of Stars, Vareen stood at the balcony overlooking the city. Children ran through the streets, merchants traded, and soldiers trained under the new methods the humans had taught. Peace was not just restored, it was strengthened. He spoke quietly to himself, but his words carried conviction. "We were saved by courage, taught by the fearless, and now we will never be weak again. Varel will stand, and we will always remember the Deathworlders." Far above the planet, the ESS Falcon disappeared into the stars, leaving behind a planet forever changed. The humans had come as allies, but their influence went deeper. They had shown what survival, skill, and determination could achieve, and in every corner of Varel, from the tallest towers to the farthest fields, the people carried that lesson in their hearts. They had faced fear, fought alongside the Deathworlders, and learned that even the darkest days could be overcome with courage and unity. The war was over. The planet was safe. And Varel would never forget the day the Deathworlders arrived.